Hey, what's going on, beautiful Jellyfish? It's Tracy, and I'm doing a super exciting video right now, and that is on the unbanning of Jace the Mind Sculptor and Bloodbraid Elf in Modern. And I was not anticipating of doing this video. Like, I had other videos lined up, but then I was like, I have to do this video, and the only reason it did not go up on Tuesday was because I had no time, because I worked late Monday and Tuesday night, so I did not have time to film it. But I really wanted to get this up for you guys because this is like a super huge change and a huge shift, as I feel like there always is when there are unbannings or bannings or both. I always think it's interesting. Like, I always kind of like it because I feel like it always just kind of spices up the format and changes things around. So I'm definitely excited to see what these changes bring about. I asked on Facebook because I like to always gauge like where everyone else is at and like what people are saying, and a bunch of my friends are thinking about like having these cards actually combining in the same deck and doing some sort of like 3 or 4 color combination, which is very adventurous, and if you want to do something like that, I think that's super cool. But basically, I got a couple of like mixed reviews, I would say, from a lot of my friends. And also to definitely check out the Patrick Chapin song, The Gathering, Jace the Mind Sculptor, because the song's awesome. It will be listed in the down bar below because the song's pretty great. Anyways, so I'm sorry, there's just a funny meme, and I'm not normally a meme person, but this one was pretty funny. It's Jace, and it's like a picture of him, and it says, "Aha, after 10,000 years, I'm free." LOL. Anyways, unrelated. Let's first talk about Bloodbraid Elf. So, when Bloodbraid Elf got unbanned, my first thing that came to mind is, Jund got a new toy, and I've always really liked Jund. I've never actually really expressed my feelings about Jund, but I do really like it. It's definitely a mid-range deck, never a deck I would play because honestly, guys, I hate Tarmogoyf and Bob, and I have a Jund list that I built, and I'll do a deck tech on it sometime soon, and I actually don't run those cards in there because I hate them, and like, you won't catch me, you know, you won't, like, I wouldn't be caught dead running those cards, so I don't like them. But I do like the rest of Jund. I think it's really sweet. I love the access to removal it has. Oh, and I hate Jund's mana base. That's another thing that really bothers me too. I think that their mana base does way too much damage to themselves, and more so than I feel like other decks. Anyways, so Bloodbraid Elf, very excited to see that Jund. I'm super happy that both of these cards are unbanned because, like I said, you have those people who are like a bunch of my friends are like thinking about like 3-4 colors to throw both of these, you know, cards in here. But then you have the people who are like, I have Jund, and now I'm gonna change some cards around so I can run Bloodbraid Elf, because let's be real here, guys, this card's a freaking house and it is so fantastic. So ultimately, with that, what I like about it is then you start to have, I feel like, more people who are going to potentially gravitate towards Jund, or Jund decks just get a little bit better. Because ultimately, when you just, say like Jace was just unbanned, I feel like, and nothing else, I feel like that would have just been way too ridiculous, in my opinion. I think it would have just been way out of hand. I think everyone would have switched to blue decks, but now you think I have those people who are like, hey, I'm not a blue mage and I'm not gonna ever run Jace, but like I really like Jund and I like mid-range, let me kind of check this deck out because this card is just super incredible. Okay, so this card is incredible for like so many reasons. So it's like a 4-mana 3/2 haste cascade. Like, that to me is just like perfect. I love it. I'm also gonna say too that one thing I'm really thinking of is this with Culligan's Command. Guys, do you remember when I built Grixis and I was like obsessed with Culligan's Command? Well, yeah, guess what? I'm still obsessed with Culligan's Command. I just don't ever get to talk about it because I'm not playing Grixis. So very excited to see the interactions that these two cards have together, because Jund is already running Culligan's Command, and if they're not, they're doing something wrong, because Culligan's Command's amazing. The fact that now when Bloodbraid Elf dies, you have the opportunity to bring it back with Culligan's Command and do all these other sweet things with Culligan's Command, so I'm so excited for that synergy there. So yes, definitely really excited to see this back. And it's funny because when I posted this, no one really talked that much about Bloodbraid specifically. It was mainly about Jace because I feel like he's like the prime feature that everyone's talking about. So let's hop into Jace. Okay, my blue mage heart is so happy right now to see this card being unbanned. And one thing too I'm going to say with this is I'm going to try to tackle a bunch of different sides with Jace, because I know there's a lot of people who are super unhappy about this change. So I'm going to kind of tackle those. I mean, obviously I have feelings for him. Like, obviously I'm excited, but I want to kind of get this at a couple of angles. The first angle I want to take is that one of my friends posted this, and I was thinking the exact same thing. He just put it into words, was that Jace could potentially just be printed for a money grab for Masters 25, I think it's called, which is the upcoming, like, kind of like Modern Masters, I would say, like those types of sets. And to be honest, and so basically it would be like, oh, like, buy Jace, and like buy a bunch of this set so that you can potentially open Jace, and then like we're gonna ban him a month later. Sorry guys, my mom just tossed some clothes on my bed, so if you see those back there, that's what those are. Okay, so yeah, that to me would suck because I want to personally play with Jace, and I also feel like that's kind of cheap, you know what I mean? To be like, hey, get super excited about this, and then we're gonna like unban him. I think that's like very not cool, and I really hope that's not true. But on that note, and kind of my point number 2 is that this could honestly happen. Wizards doesn't have that intention at all, and they're like, we're super excited about this, but then, oh my gosh, Jace got out of hand, we have to ban him again. That could be, that's another angle I'm thinking of, is that something that could potentially happen with this unbanning. Angle 3, blue mages like me are super happy because we have a new toy to play with, and I did this on my video when I talked about blue mages and how we don't get enough things to play with. Like, we don't get enough cool things. Like, counterspells in Modern just suck, and that's actually one thing which leads me to my point about what deck I'm thinking I'm gonna play, and this was actually before the Jace unbanning. I started brewing this list, or started thinking of this. I decided that the deck I think I'm going to lean towards in Modern, this could change, just saying, is Esper, because one thing I like about Esper and having that access to black is, unfortunately, I can't run Color Against Command because I'm not a Savage and I'm not running 4 colors, even though that would be sweet. I'm not doing that. But I want to do Esper because I like the removal in black, and I prefer hand disruption over counter spells, and that's what's kind of leading me towards Esper. So ultimately that's what I'm thinking of. So people like me are extraordinarily happy to see Jace in there, and again, I feel like, you know, we don't have enough, listen, people totally disagree with the sentiment, and a lot of people think blue's overpowered, and I totally understand those perspectives. I get that. But yeah, I'm really, and then there's, on that end, we'll take another side, and number 4 is that people are super unhappy about this. They think the format's going to be totally dominated by blue decks. But I think what I kind of really saw when, like, I was keeping up with Modern, like, a while back, was that you kind of saw blue decks, like, sometimes, like, Twin. Okay, Twin was a thing, Twin got banned, it sucked. And you kind of started, like, you saw blue decks, but it was like, then the Eldrazi thing happened and everyone was playing that, and then it was like, where were all the blue mages? Like, where did everyone go? Like, are people just not top 8ing with these decks? Are people just not playing them? Like, and again, I've said this in other videos, but one of the most relevant things that someone has ever said to me was like, your deck is good, but just not right now, not in the right time. And it's like, after this, it's like, now is the time, you know what I mean? So ultimately, let's like jump ahead a couple months or weeks or however long it may take. Jace ends up getting banned, rebanned again. Let's say it just happens. I don't know if it's gonna happen. Guys, like, really, people try to speculate, but like, we don't know. I mean, we can say, hey, I'm pretty sure this is gonna happen. I'm pretty sure Jace is gonna totally dominate and take over, which, I mean, yeah, totes may happen, but ultimately we don't know what's gonna transpire. Again, he could be banned like 20 weeks from now. It could be like 3 years. Like, we don't know. So say he ends up getting banned down the line. Maybe something else gets unbanned, and maybe that'll spice up the format. So maybe like a couple weeks Jace is still in the format, but then they unban some other powerful tool, and then now you have that Bloodbraid elf again, which that is giving Gen players another toy, and that's making their deck better. You're having Jace, which makes blue decks better, and then you unban something else that makes this other deck better, and like, that's what it should be about, is it should be about like balance. And I've done this with like my cat chasing mouse like example, like this deck beats this deck, beats this deck, beats this deck, and it all goes around in a circle, the circle of life, and you know, it's sort of what happens. So I totally understand those people who are like crazy frustrated right now, but we'll see. We'll get there, and we'll figure out what really is ultimately going to happen. So my whole thing is, you guys know I'm moving to Austin, Texas, so buying Magic cards is not my priority. So I'm going to proxy up a deck, play tested a bunch, that Esper list that I was telling you guys about. Guys, it's the juice. I'm just gonna say, like, it's super sweet. Oh, I have my list and I packed it, but it's so sweet. It runs like an Ashiok in the main, it runs like Restoration Angel. I'm tossing around Wall of Omens, I haven't decided yet, and like Celestial Colonnade, and what is the card? That's the fairy card. It's like the 3/2 unblockable land. I can't think about it. It's the blue-black one. I don't know why I can't think of that name, but it runs that land. So ultimately, what I hope this does is, and I use the word balance loosely, just saying, is that it balances out the format a little bit more. Where I hope what will happen, again, I know the Callblade days, I know that. I'm just saying, I hope that there's people who are like so mad at Jace that they're like, I'm not running that. I hope that there's people who are like, you know what, this is not my style of deck, and you just do something else. If you're that person, awesome, go you, build another sweet mid-range deck. Build maybe not Jund, build like Abzan. Like, Abzan's freaking sweet, and that deck does not get enough love. So, yes. I want to also mention with Jace really coming out, the rise of one of my favorite cards, which I think is going to be everyone's best friend in their sideboard, is going to be Pithing Needle. Okay, I'm just going to tell you guys right now that I talked about Pithing Needle before y'all are going to run it in your sideboards, because I'm just saying it's one of the best cards to stop Jace. If you're really looking for a sideboard answer and you were like, I know I'm going to lose if someone plays Jace, run Pithing Needle in your sideboard. Jace gets banned, run Pithing Needle in your sideboard. Guys, I cannot tell you how fantastic this card is. You absolutely need to run this card in your sideboard. Like, it is so good, especially for someone who's like, I can't deal with Jace. So that is my one thing I would really ultimately say about sideboard, and how, and anyways, there's documentation, proof, YouTube documentation that I talked about this card before this whole thing, and then everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, Pithing Needle, this card's great, and run it. Like, no, Tracy talked about it before it was cool, before everyone was running it, because I know that that's what's gonna happen, is everyone's gonna need to run to an answer. And what's great about Pithing Needles, you can literally run it in anything, because it's an artifact, and it's colorless, and it's only 1 freaking mana, guys. This card is a house. I love it. So that would be my suggestion, I would say, if you're really scared of Jace and you're like, yo. And also too, what's really great about this card, and this card actually really inspired me to do another video on sideboarding in Modern, because I find that those are some of, in my opinion, I think one of my most helpful videos on my channel, because sideboarding is super tough. And I'm going to do another part of this, because ultimately, with a card like that, it is so widespread that it can hit so many different targets, and you can sideboard that card into like a lot of different decks, and not even just against Jace. It's really good against other stuff as well. So just saying, I remember the day that someone Pithing Needled my Elspeth Suns champion. It was hard to win at that point. Like, and I know Elspeth and Jace are different, but I'm just saying, like, you know, when someone does something like that, it can really hurt their deck and, you know, their win conditions. So that is it, guys. I'd really like to know what comments, you know, what you guys have to say about this, because this is like a huge change. And, you know, honestly, even if stuff gets unbanned, like, even if it's stuff that like I was playing, it's just like, you know what, like, just look at it as like hopefully trying to make the format a little bit, I don't even want to say better, but like different. Let's just try to like spice things up. You know, that's really what happened with Eldrazi Menace, is it got like out of hand and everyone was playing it, and like that's a huge problem. Like, you shouldn't have a top 8 where every list is like variations of the same deck. Like, in terms of like Eldrazi is every top 8 list, like it should not be like that. That is like super unhealthy and not good, and that was one of the arguments for Twin about why that got banned, but that's a different story. Whatever, still mad about it, but we're not gonna go there. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this topic, but yeah, I'll catch you guys next week for some videos.